I would like to begin it by requesting Dr. Saras to please present and fill the knowledge gaps on for all of us on the declining air quality in Punjab.
Thank you, Sanam. Hi, good morning. So what I will do is I'll quickly go over the kind of resources that we have available for cities to take it forward. My task here today is to basically give an understanding of what kind of information is available and how some of this information is being used in Indian cities to understand air quality, their trends, and how it can be used going forward. We as an urban emissions, we have done very little at the city level in Punjab in the last couple of years. So some of the material that I'm presenting for Punjab cities is actually a little bit older, but the idea is that you have a grasp on what information is available and going forward, how much more can be done in each of these cities. When we talk about air quality gaps, we have two sides of the story. We have the monitoring side and the modeling side. And all our work is primarily on the modeling side, and all information that I'm presenting to you is based on information that we gather for different sectors, and how that is put together, collated, and used for creating a story for each of these cities. On the monitoring side, I think there are other panelists here that will speak about monitoring. And we do use monitoring data, but it is based on whatever is available. We personally don't do any of the monitoring work ourselves. Our program is called Apna City Program, Air Pollution Knowledge Assessments. We have done analysis for 51 airsheds in India, and all this information is available online for each of these cities. There's a portal, there's a very clean leaflet for each of these cities to understand where is the pollution coming from, what is the load from each of the sectors, whether the pollution is local or not local. And going forward, we have a small laundry list of things a city can address, but that's not limited to any of that. A lot of this is evolved over the years, and based on whatever conversations we have in the cities, more can be done. In Punjab, we have only two airsheds that we have evaluated under the program, Amritsar airshed and Ludhiana airshed. And of course, Chandigarh is the capital and it's part of the state. So for Chandigarh, we have a separate airshed that includes a lot of other cities as well. On the data collection side, we try to collect information from all the sectors possible, and we try to keep the methods as current as possible. Compared to 5 years ago, there's a lot more information is available, both from surveys done in the cities, and also a lot of new satellite feeds are also being available. So we try to include as much of that information as possible for any of this, all the sectors. And if you have any specific questions on these, you can send me an email or talk to me afterwards, and I can give you more details on these sectors. We also access some commercial outlets. For example, Google has a lot of information on traffic, both spatially and temporally. So we try to access that information and use it for understanding the rush hours, how speeds are affecting the emissions and pollution, and it can further be used for understanding some of the science behind the emissions as well. So we try to access some of these commercial outlets also for building these databases. And as a quick mention of the satellite feeds, this is something that Sanam also mentioned earlier. When we talk about Punjab and Haryana, very specifically when it comes to this crop burning season, but that's not the only time these sources can be tracked and used. This information is available throughout the year, and it can be very effectively used for some of the planning purposes, not just for that season, but how do we address that even off season? Here's a quick snapshot of a study done by Tanushree. I think she is also on the panel. She'll probably be using the same slide. So we can look at the contributions of these sources season by season, month by month.
Recording in progress.
And also trying to use this information for not only like short-term policy support, but also for long-term support. So if we know that a particular sector is contributing to our problem regularly and to a certain extent, a significant extent, then how do we address that? And if a source is something which is more seasonal, it's affecting us when a particular period, for example, like this crop burning, affects us only during these October, November months, and how do we address that, concentrating more of our effort in that particular season, in that particular source. So we can use information like this to prioritize our actions, not only in time, but also in space. And we also spend a significant amount of time in looking at other sources which usually don't get mentioned. Each of these dots here is a brick kiln. So we mapped out every one of these brick kilns, all of the Indo-Gangetic Plain and across India as well. And I mean, once we draw an airshed, it's easy to find out where are the brick kiln clusters in a city. But you also find a lot of brick kilns which are not immediately next to the cities, but they are there. Operations are happening. So what we try to do is try to understand what is the regional contribution. What are the sources which are outside the cities which are contributing to pollution in the city. So this is a bit of a painstaking process, but has to be done in trying to track not only the formal sources like you have the transport sector, waste burning, industries, cooking and heating, and these are the things that we always talk about, but there are also sources which are outside the cities we have to take into consideration. And the idea is, this is our workflow. We collate as much information as possible. We create a story around each of the sectors. We look at them spatially and temporally. We run them through what we call as chemical transport models combined with high resolution metrology, and then we come up with the source apportionment pies. So these are all modeled based on bottom-up information. And these models will help us try to understand sector by sector contributions, and also try to help understand how much pollution is actually coming from outside. Okay. So here's a snapshot for the Chandigarh area, and this also includes Patiala and here. If you notice, this is a very unique feature for the Indo-Gangetic Plain, and very specifically a unique feature for cities in Punjab. We find that the contribution of PM 2.5 pollution in these airsheds, more than 50% of the pollution comes from outside the city's airshed. So, I mean, this is Chandigarh's airshed that we have drawn. 50% of the pollution is coming from sources which are outside this airshed. So what this significantly specifies is that city itself is not going to be able to address all the problem. I mean, they really need to have a regional coordination policy, so that you address sources inside the city, also outside the city, to tackle this. So this feature is very strong also in the other airsheds. For example, this is for Ludhiana. 40% of the pollution comes from outside the airshed. Inside the city, when you have the usual suspects, when you have transport, you have cooking and heating, you have industries, you have dust. So you have all those you will find in all the cities. But this addressing the pollution that is coming from the regional sources is something which needs to be has to be on the table from day one if we want to address air pollution in Punjab cities. Same thing with the Amritsar as well. More than 50% of the pollution actually comes from outside the city's designated airshed. And the transport sector, for example, in Amritsar, a lot of measures have been taken already because of the Golden Temple, and a lot of like two-wheeler traffic. It's already been electrified. Three-wheeler traffic has already been electrified, and there are special zones where a lot of industries have been moved out. So these things have already happened. So we see that still there is some contribution from these sectors, but a lot of those activities have moved outside the airshed and still are contributing to the city. So this has to be one of the central topics when it comes to policy discussion for Punjab cities. These are the NCAP cities. So what I've shown you is for Amritsar and Ludhiana only. Similar work we haven't done for the other two NCAP cities. We have the Pathankot and Jalandhar. So you'll see that, and Chandigarh itself, when we talk about Chandigarh, we see that there are at least 7 NCAP cities in that airshed, and there are 4 other non-NCAP cities which are also in the airshed, which need some form of addressing. So when you have sources there which can significantly affect the emissions in Chandigarh area. Same thing with Ludhiana, you have Philor, and for Amritsar you have Tarn Taran. So you need to basically address not only the cities that are specifically on the NCAP list, but also from an airshed perspective, you have to address some of these sources. And what the numbers that you see here are the number of continuous monitoring stations that we really need in these airsheds to spatially and temporally represent what is the pollution that we are experiencing in these cities. And the current monitoring scales are very, very small. For example, in Chandigarh, in this airshed, we barely have 3 continuous monitoring stations, and that's not really enough to address the problem. We need at least 28, and similarly in the other cities as well. So there's a lot of data that really needs to be still collected and understand, but we shouldn't put our hands up saying that, oh, we'll wait for that information. A lot of information is also available from the modeling side that's coming in and helping us understand what the problem is and the depth of the problem is and how it can be addressed. Here's a sample of what can be done if more information is available. This is something that we've done with C-STEP Bangalore for the city of Patna. We used the action plans that city has made and translated them into numbers and see if every one of those actions are implemented to the highest level possible, what kind of improvements can we see in the city going forward in the next 10 years, 20 years. So something like this can be easily put together for, not easily, but it can be put together for a lot of other cities as well. I think a lot of cities are already doing this with different groups. So this is just to give you a flavor of what can be done. So if full implementation happens, what kind of improvements do we see? If a medium level improvements are implementation is done, what kind of improvements that we see? Or what is the bare minimum implementation of these interventions that is required to maintain the level of pollution that we have in the city? So a lot can be done. A good amount of understanding exists on the ground with different people. We basically need to collate that and then use it in a comprehensive way to take this policy discussion and implementation process forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarath. This was very informative for all of us. I request if any of you have any questions, because we will be having a Q&A after the panel discussion, you can please type your questions in the chat box. We'll take the questions from there. And I request again all of you to please mute your mics. Now we move into the panel discussion. Let's begin with understanding the air of Punjab, because like we said, let's clear the air on the air quality in Punjab. My question to you to begin with, Dr. Prabjot, is that what do you think is the actual right now standing of the air quality of Punjab and what's polluting it?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity for sharing. And if at present we see the air quality of Punjab, we are coming in the 100 plus AQI is more than 100 in most of the or many of the cities, regions of Punjab, meaning that what we are breathing in is not the good quality air, it's the polluted type of air. And the interesting thing is that we are living in a state where 83% of the geographical area is under crop cultivation. Means we can call Punjab like a sort of a green state where agriculture is the main, or the crop production is the main occupation practiced by the people of the state. And still the air quality, when you have the greenery all around, the air quality is in the poor category. So it means that there is something we need to really feel concerned about. Generally, throughout the year, we don't feel much about the air quality. Only during the October, November, or maybe December months, we feel that the air quality is poor, because at that time the formation of a phenomena which is known as smog, 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 takes place, and that smog makes it very difficult for us to breathe, and even the visibility is so poor. Now that happens because at that period of time, or during that time period, the weather conditions are thus, the temperature conditions, the movement of the air is very low. Generally, the wind condition is in the calm category, and calm category means it is less than 2 kilometers per hour in general. So that is why the formation of the smog takes place. Nowadays, because the wind speed is not in the calm category, the wind is blowing, so we don't feel the formation of the smog, or we didn't see the formation of smog. Otherwise, with the present air quality, like if you see even today on, it's available on Google for anyone to see, and it is something like 120 to 130. Means it's a poor quality air we are breathing in, but we don't feel it because the wind is blowing. If whenever the wind stops for say 24 hours, or the calm conditions prevail, then we would feel the formation of the smog. And Punjab is blamed, or Punjab people, they start talking about this air pollution or the smog only during that part of the year, because at that time, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know what to say, it's a time when the harvesting season of the paddy crop is going on. Plus, it's also the festival season when everyone is cracking firecrackers, and with the Dussehra and Diwali season. So that is when we actually feel that problem. But the problem is there even during the month of May, when just currently in Punjab we had the lockdown condition, and the vehicular transport was minimum, the industrial pollution level was minimum because of the lockdown, and there was no major farm operation going on in the agriculture sector, but still the air quality was poor. So that is something we really need to feel concerned about, and we need to just make more concerted efforts. And another thing is that because in Punjab, the forest cover area or the tree cover area is just about 4 to 5% or something like 6%. So it's because of less of the green tree cover area, and we don't have any dense category of forest in Punjab. So those are some of the reasons. And the other panelists would also like to add on. Thank you.
Sanam, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. Tanushree, we've just heard about what's the situation of air quality in Punjab. Could you please tell us about it? What is the AQ monitoring situation in Punjab?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanam. Before I jump into responding your question, I'll quickly give a brief background about the kind of work we do, so that it's easier for people who have joined the session to understand that why this question makes all the more sense for a research institution like CW, right? So what we're trying to do within CW is primarily map out data gaps, particularly in air quality, and figure out ways in which these data gaps can actually be plugged. And plugging of these data gaps could happen either, let's say through satellite data, which is remote sensing data, or consumer grade sensors, which is, people, you, me, and other people on the call can actually host these sensors to get a quick sense of what is the quality of air that they're breathing. So in that regard, of course, one of the first steps is to try and understand, what is the current monitoring infrastructure across the states in India. तो अगर मैं सिंपली आपको समझाना चाहूँ, अगर आप समझना चाहते हैं कि आपको बुखार है तो आप थर्मोमीटर का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, राइट? उसी तरह से अगर आप समझना चाहते हैं कि आपके आसपास वायु कितनी प्रदूषित है, आपको एक एयर क्वालिटी मॉनिटर की जरूरत पड़ती है। 2 किस्म के एयर क्वालिटी मॉनिटर होते हैं, एक आपका मैनुअल मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन होता है, एक आपका कंटिन्यूअस मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन होता है। नाम से ही पता चल रहा है, जो मैनुअल मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन है वो कम फ्रीक्वेंसी पे आपको डेटा देता है, लेकिन जो आपका कंटिन्यूअस मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन है वो आपको लगातार, मान लीजिए हर 1 मिनट, हर 15 मिनट में आपको डेटा दे रहा है। तो अगर आप हर मिनट का इंफॉर्मेशन चाहते हैं कि आप कैसी हवा ब्रीद इन कर रहे हैं, व्हाट इज द काइंड ऑफ पोल्यूशन लेवल्स यू आर एक्सपोज्ड टू, what you really need is the real time monitoring station so that you have continuous information on air quality. So to answer your question, Sanam, right now in Punjab there are 28 manual monitoring stations, right, out of which 4 are in rural areas. In terms of continuous monitoring stations, there are 8 continuous monitoring stations. 6 of these 8 are, of course, in the non-attainment cities. So there are 9 non-attainment cities, as Brikesh has already pointed out in the chat box. Only 6 of these non-attainment cities actually have continuous monitoring stations right now. Just putting things to perspective, Delhi has 40 continuous monitoring stations. Mumbai has 21 continuous monitoring stations. So आप देख सकते हैं ना कि डिस्कनेक्ट है। दिल्ली और मुंबई जैसे शहरों में पंजाब में कुल मिलाकर जितने कंटिन्यूअस मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशंस है उससे ज्यादा है। दूसरी बात, I mean, it's not always about the number of monitoring stations, right? Monitoring stations location also is equally important in assessing the in assessing the air quality around you. So I see there is a question, it's a relevant question. Continuous monitoring station, real time monitoring station, automatic monitoring station, जैसे ही वो air quality measure करेगा वो data transmit करेगा। तो आपको हर 15 मिनट में आप डेटा को एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। अगर आप सेंट्रल पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड की वेबसाइट में जाएंगे, वहां पे आपको ऑटोमेटिक मॉनिटरिंग डेटा मिलेगा, तो आप हर 15 मिनट में देख सकते हैं कि आप कैसा एयर क्वालिटी ब्रीथ कर रहे हैं। So that is in response to the question which was raised in the chat box. So like I was saying, it's not always the numbers, and if you peruse the resources which Sharad has shared in the chat box, usme you'll get to know that Punjab, given its population, the number of people which reside in Punjab needs over 100 monitors, right? So about 102 for urban areas and close to 23 in rural areas. But of course, Punjab is nowhere close to that number. We are looking at only 28 manual monitoring stations and 8 continuous monitoring stations. So clearly, Punjab can significantly augment its monitoring network. Point number 2, it's not just about increasing the number of monitoring stations, but it is also about the location of these monitoring stations. Now, just for example, अगर आप जालंधर का example लें, तो जालंधर का जो continuous monitoring station है, वो circuit house में located है. अब अगर आप नया नांगल का एग्जाम्पल ले, वहां पे जो मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशंस हैं वो अंबुजा सीमेंट के फैक्ट्री के पास है, फर्टिलाइजर इंडस्ट्री के पास है। तो किस तरह से हम समझे कि आखिर शहर जो है उसका असली एयर क्वालिटी क्या है? So the monitoring network also has to be designed in a very representative fashion, ताकि either you are prioritizing the most populated pockets within the city so that at least people know what kind of levels they are breathing, or if you're looking at regulatory compliance कि मेरे शहर की air quality कैसी है, you develop a representative monitoring network which covers the major land uses within the city. So when we talk about monitoring, I think the important thing to understand is that it's not just the numbers. It is also very important to identify those strategic locations, design the monitoring network in a way that you are able to capture pollution levels at the most populated pockets within the city, so that people know on a real-time basis what is the level of air pollution they are exposed to. And number 2, also we get a representative sense of the different land use classes within the city. So yeah, I happy to answer further questions on air quality monitoring and designing of networks. Sanam, you're on mute.
Do you think Punjab has the sufficient number of air quality monitors? And if not, what is that number do you think that Punjab requires?
No, definitely not, Sanam. Like I explained in my intervention earlier, if we go by the CPCB thumb rule, right? The CPCB thumb rule is very basic. It is based on the population across cities, right? So if we just look at population as the criteria, then Punjab needs close to 125 monitors. So 102 just for the urban centers, and then rural ke liye close to 23. This is a population-based, thumb rule. So the idea is that if you have more population, you need to have more monitors. But what is important here in terms of monitoring strategies, that it would be very difficult for a city or a state today to overnight ramp up their monitoring infrastructure extensively. So what is important is to strategically design your network so that you are able to capture the most populated locations, or at least those locations where there is a higher population of sensitive receptors. मान लीजिए अगर आपके पास स्कूल है, हॉस्पिटल है, सीनियर सिटीजन होम है किसी लोकेशन पे, बहुत सारी रेसिडेंशियल सोसाइटीज हैं, तो आप वहां पे मॉनिटर लगाएंगे ताकि एटलीस्ट पीपल गेट टू नो द लेवल ऑफ एयर क्वालिटी दे आर ब्रीथिंग. द सेकंड थिंग इज दैट यू design your network in a very representative fashion so that you're able to capture your residential zones. You're able to capture, let's say, some of the traffic intersections which have a very high traffic volume. You're able to capture your industrial zone, you're able to capture a commercial zone. So like I said, one, of course, the number is way lower than what it's supposed to be. Number two, we cannot expect states and cities to ramp up their monitoring infrastructure to that extent overnight. Therefore, it is very important to strategically design your monitoring network so that you can meet at least some of these objectives. Some of these objectives being able to communicate with people about the air quality that they're breathing. And the second objective would be just to get a sense of the overall spatial pollution within the city.
Thank you, Tanushree. Sir, this brings back to you. I just would like to know, you've mentioned this a lot in your previous work as well. How do you think we get smarter about monitoring air pollution, and how do you think that will help Punjab?
Hi. Question. I've been posting some random doodles and stuff online. So one is continuing on what Tanushree is saying. I mean, you need to have a representative sample of locations. You want a mix of residential locations because that's where the majority of our time is spent. You want a representative set of locations, industrial locations, and you also want to have hotspots of all the traffic junctions so that you have a good representation of what kind of pollution that we are exposed to at the end of the day. So generally speaking, from a regulatory perspective, you want to collect all this information using regulatory monitors, but that costs us, right? When we say a continuous monitoring station, that is now close to 2 crores for one unit, and you have operational charges of anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20% every year of that going forward. It's good to have something like that, which is fully established, fully referenced. Everybody will use that data blindly, but it'll come at a cost, both money-wise and also personnel-wise, because you need very trained technical personnel for each of these equipments to handle. But we can be smarter, as you said, like how can we expand our the gambit of pool by cutting down some of these costs. That can happen by combining some of the resources I showed you in the presentation as well. You combine it with some of the modeling tools. You combine it with some what we call as a hybrid network of monitoring. You use these reference gate systems, but at the same time, you combine it with some sensors which cost less than a reference gate system. You place them strategically and you study those sensors beforehand so that you have a good calibration process in place between the sensors and the reference gate systems, and you expand that. So a place where if you need 100 monitors to understand what the pollution levels are, you have only access to 5 reference gate systems. Let's bring in those 95 low-cost sensors, calibrate them well, make sure that they are representative of what we are seeing in the reference gate systems, spread them across the city or the state, and you increase the pool. But that also doesn't mean that the cost of the process is less. You still have to have good number of personnel, technical understanding of the process, and you have to keep it upgraded almost every 3, 4, 6 months. And you do that, we will have a good, smart hybrid system, which uses your official reference grade systems, new emerging sensors, and some of these modeling tools which are coming into place to fill that gap. So we can do that by combining all these resources.
Thank you, Sarath. Now we have with us somebody from the government. We have a senior environment engineer with us, Raj Ratraji. My question to you, sir, is, sir, this the Commission for Air Quality Management, which was passed last year, we would like to know that how would that ordinance affect Punjab?
Good morning, everybody. Sanam, first of all, as far as this commission is concerned, and we all know that this commission was dissolved in April, March 2021, and now it is reconstituted. Under this commission, 3 subcommittees are being constituted that has to monitor the whole of the program under this commission. Any program of this level will definitely benefit the Punjab. For example, in case of National Mission for Cleaner Air, all the 9 non-attainment cities have been covered. Now, Honorable Prime Minister of India, in its independence speech, has declared that 100 out of these cities are we have to concentrate for the improvement in air quality. Now, this program has been transferred to in the mission mode, and a fresh national mission for clean air program has been drafted by the Government of India. Recently, we had received a draft program for this mission. Under this mission, not only 9 cities are going to benefit it, 9 non-attainment cities, but 2 major cities, Ludhiana and Amritsar city, which is in a million plus, are going to get special funds for under cleaner air program. We already received about first installment under NCAP program, about 12 crores under this program. In total, 50 crore is going to release under NCAP program. Like Tanushri and other panelists said, that there is a need to increase the continuous ambient air stations. Under this program, we are shortly going to install 8 new continuous ambient air quality station, 4 at Ludhiana and 4 at Amritsar. And as rightly said, the location of these continuous ambient air quality stations will be decided as per the requirement, as well as the concentration of pollution in a particular pocket. The issues raised by the panelists will be addressed through this program. Moreover, we are going to assign source apportionment study for all the 9 polluted cities, non-attainment cities, to some reputed institutes like IIT Delhi and IIT Ropar. Based upon their studies, we will go for remedial measures for these stations. Already action plan, Government of Punjab has already prepared action plan for all the 9 cities, which is being monitored at highest level by the Chief Secretary, as well as at district levels by the DCs. About 15 meetings has been taken by the Chief Secretary Punjab under this program, and this program is going very well. Sanam.
Sir, you said something about the 50 crores. So 50 crores is, you're saying, is allocated for the cleaner program, or there's the money which is received by the PPCD, which will be basically disbursed?
It is allocated under NCAP program by the Government of India.
Right.
Under this program, we are going to provide some mechanical sweepers to these municipal corporations. We are going source apportionment studies. We are installing ambient air quality stations. We are taking remedial measures. We are helping industry. We are giving funds to R&D.
Right,
Yeah.
right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Secondly, I want to add here that focus area is being shifted. Earlier, we were concentrating from when Air Act was introduced in 1981 till 2010, about 30 years. Whole of the government machinery or acts are being designed for industry to control the pollution from industrial chimneys. But in 2010, Government of India, CPCB has declared critical polluted cities. Ludhiana and Govindgarh were covered under that cities. At that time, action plans were prepared and the focus has been shifted to direct sources to indirect, or we say point sources to non-point sources. Point sources means industrial chimneys, where we can directly see the pollution impacts. Non-point sources are like vehicular emissions, dust emissions, construction emission from these dust sources, municipal solid waste. The onus has entirely changed. Secondly, we were earlier concentrating on results from the chimneys. Now we are looking for control at source. We are going for innovative technologies. Like we are going for cleaner fuels. We are promoting CNG, like in Govindgarh. Already 60 units have been converted to CNG. That means 100 quintal of coal burning in a day has been reduced. When all the rolling mills of Govindgarh will transfer to CNG, about 1,000 quintal of coal burning will be stopped. We have changed our focus. The government has changed focus from individual industries to control the pollution at source. Like in vehicular pollution, we are going for Euro 6. Here in industrial pollution, we are going for control at source. In case of brick kilns, we have changed a technology from conventional brick kilns to induced draft kilns. Here, about 80% of brick kilns in the Punjab, out of 26 brick kilns, working brick kilns, 2,100 brick kilns have shifted to zigzag technologies, which are very efficient. Not only with this, pollution has been controlled, but economics, fuel has been saved to the industry. Similarly, in case of induction furnaces, we have controlled at source. In case of dyeing industry, we have changed the machineries, energy efficient machineries for a lesser pollution fuel consumption have been introduced. Thus, government has changed its focus. Please, Sanam.
Sir, you said something about the missions. Sir, is NCAP a mission now? And does that change? Does that affect the program anyway?
It is a mission now.
And does that affect the program?
It will intensify it, or its impact will be more now. Funds have been raised from other sources.
So, sir, are there any revisions to the original program?
Yes. It is revised. Recently, an OM has been issued by the Government of India on, I think, 10th of June. Program has been revised on 10th of June.
Right, sir. Right. This actually takes me to Khan Singh, sir. Would like to know, sir, is because, like I said in the beginning, that air pollution for Punjab, it has actually become, it's actually kept in that box of stubble burning. So, sir, do you think that is air pollution actually a state issue for Punjab outside of the stubble burning?
First of all, good morning to all of you. You're all young professionals. I think I'm the only one who have been dealing with the problem-solving issues related to the environment, especially the air pollution, for the last more than 15 years. So first of all, I'm thankful to all of you that you young people, you have started even talking about the issue which has been affecting the whole population of the state and the country. But then, first of all, we need to very well understand that pollution of every kind is a product of science and development. So therefore, the solution of this pollution lies only in science. As you all know that the level of emissions, carbon emissions, is much more in Europe and various developed countries as compared to India, but their pollution levels are much less than us. It's not because they have done very well on pollution levels, but the issue is that the mother nature is very kind to them, and it has been raining almost say 200 days in a year, whereas we have this rain about 40 days or 45 days in a year. One. Second, we are situated geographically at such a place where the Thar Desert is on two sides of the state. You start from Patti area and then you go to Fazilka. There is a Thar Desert on the Pakistan side in Punjab, Multan and Bahawalpur area. And then southwest Punjab like Rajasthan joining it. So we have that kind of geographical area, although we also have the Himalayas which saves us. So therefore, the problem which the state of Punjab has been facing is about like Prabjot has told us that it's around 100. The air quality index is about 100 nowadays, and any day when it rains, it comes down to maybe 70 or 60 or 50. Whereas in whole of Europe, it remains about 50 or 60 for throughout the year. So therefore, we have to understand as to what are the issues which are affecting the state as far as the pollution, air pollution is concerned. Mr. Rattada, who has been dealing with this subject for a long time, when I was the chairman of Punjab Pollution Control Board for 2 terms, first in 2011 and then in 2017-18. So we have been dealing with this subject quite extensively and quite intensively, and we have been able to sort out various issues, and other issues are being tackled, like the one of the most important issue, if we look at from industrial side, is the coal. Now, as a matter of policy, the state government and the Pollution Control Board has been replacing coal with the gas, which is much cleaner fuel. Like the brick kilns, we are around, he just mentioned about 2,600 brick kilns, which are using hundreds and thousands of tons of coal every year. So we have shifted to the new technology called zigzag technology of induced draft. And the new technology, which has not yet come in India, but we have been talking to some companies which have introduced the new technology in Bangladesh and some European countries related to the brick kilns, that is the brick kilns on CNG. So we have got the company on board, and we are trying to work on the method as to how that can be introduced in Punjab. If that comes, then we will be able to solve most of the problem. And as far as the industry is concerned, a lot of industries over a period of time has been changing to CNG. Unfortunately, we have problem in the setting up of CNG pipelines in Jalandhar and Amritsar, which are the Jalandhar and Ludhiana, which are the most polluted cities as far as the state is concerned. Some company came, started laying the pipes in 2014, and then there was a dispute, and now that dispute is going on. Although in whole of the state we already have the CNG, but in these two cities, God knows when it's going to come. Although the matter is pending before the PNG board and Government of India, they are trying to tackle this issue. So vehicular pollution, yes, vehicular pollution is an issue, but then two things have happened over a period of time in case of vehicular pollution. One is that we have now Mark 4 or Mark 6 vehicles which are coming, which are much less polluted. But then given the political, administrative and the social system in the country and the livelihood issues, we have a lot of three-wheelers, we have a lot of vehicles which are very old and which are run on maybe diesel, on kerosene, on so many other things. So especially in the city of Amritsar, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, these are metropolitan cities where these are creating a lot of problems. So state government and under the program which Government of India has given some money, we need to incentivize those these three-wheelers to shift to not the gas but the electrical vehicles, so that we do not have any problem at all. Now electric vehicles, the policy has also come, and these vehicles are also very good in driving, and drivers and everybody is. So therefore we need to have our focus on the change of all these things. And then 15 years old policy of commercial vehicles, which has been part of the law, but it's a question of implementation which is not happening. Even now we have some three-wheelers and some trucks which are maybe 35 or 40 years old, and during the harvesting season, when the food has to be transported from the mandis to the godowns, all these trucks, they come out and they start flying. So that is also a implementation issue which is required to be tackled. And then we have the festival issue. You see, in Golden Temple, we used to have this Atashbazi for 30 minutes. So I, as chairman of Pollution Control Board, I was DC of Amritsar at that point of time. Then I immediately shifted to Pollution Control Board. So we requested SGPC to reduce it to first 20 minutes and then to 10 minutes. Now they are doing it for only 10 minutes, and that too the green crackers. Although green crackers is not something which has come up very well in the country, although NGT, Supreme Court, High Courts, they are talking about green crackers and green crackers, but these are not available at all. So therefore, in the days to come, this will also happen. So the people's mindset, we are talking about that the people should take care of their the pollution levels. But you see on Diwali days what happens to all the people. It is a zeitgeist what happens. Whole of the population turns to be the polluters rather than the people suffering from the pollution. So there also, although High Court and Supreme Court, they have passed the law that there will be no crackers after 10 and before 8, but people are not bothering. So that has also to be taken into consideration. And the dust on, although it's a natural dust, I told you that we are living in the Thar Desert adjoining that area. So whenever there is a air from that side, which we called Dakkani Hawa, so it causes some problems. Many a times we have that dust in the air for continuously for 8 days or 10 days till the time it rains. So that happens both in winters and in summers also. So that is something which is beyond our control. But then the dust which is on the roads and in the municipalities everywhere, like Mr. Ratra just told that they are now bringing some machines for the dust collection. So we need to have a policy on the dust collection. And then one of the most important thing, except agriculture, is the burning of the municipal solid waste. So this is happening. Although one of the colleagues, one of the participants told that Delhi has maybe 40 or 50 air quality monitoring stations. But what happens to the burning of the municipal waste in Delhi is known to all, because we Punjabis, we travel to Delhi, and then on the canal bypass we see that a big dump always always burning. And so therefore that is also another area of concern, because the science has not been able to tackle the problem of municipal solid waste till now. Although we have been talking about the source segregation and other things, but these are not happening. Maybe in the days to come, something will definitely come up. But then I think the way the society and the government has focused its attention towards the amelioration of the air pollution, the things are going to change in the days to come. The things will definitely improve. Rather than discussing the problems of the pollution, we should be talking about the solutions also, as to what is the solution for something, which should be the major focus of all the planners and the people who are concerned with air pollution. So we need to continuously work on the methods. Like the air pollution, which is most important, is the agriculture pollution, although we sometimes dust it off, because that happens only for a period of 30 days, from 15th of October to 15th of November. But that 1 month is so dangerous that all the kids which are born in those 30 days, now you see the intellectual level and the mental level of those kids. If some studies conducted that what happens, because those 30 days, the level of air, clean air available to those kids, when these are formative days of his growth, is much less as compared to the other kids. So therefore, that cannot be brushed aside. So the kind of money which is coming from Government of India under some programs is not tackling that issue. Is 30 crore, 15 crore, 10 crores, that will not tackle that issue. because we have been since last 20 years we have been telling and trying to sort out that issue by giving machines to the people and other things, but that problem has not been solved. You see, in the year 2016, the total number of burning incidents during this 60 days, 30 days period was about 85,000. Then I became the chairman in 2017. We started working on this. The number of incidents came down to 47,000. So for 3 years, they continued to be 47,000. But last year, again, it has crossed 90,000 incidents. So therefore, my point is that it has not gone down well with the farmers as to how to control this. But then government has to come up with some policy. The policy of regulation and others will not work with the policy of incentives. Has to work, or some scientific research has to come. Like now, we have around 20 units which are coming up, maybe by next year, this year, December, 20 units which are bio-CNG plants are coming, although we have the thermal plant, biothermal plants numbering about 11, giving us 100 megawatts of electricity. But then this bio-CNG is another thing which is coming up very well. And the third issue is the microbial control of the agriculture waste. So there are so many companies which are working on this, but till now our condition is that the microbial solution should decompose the material in a period of less than 20 days. But no company, no research has been able to give us that kind of promise till now. Although there are 10, 15 companies which are working, and we have thrown a challenge to all the companies in the world that anyone who comes up with this kind of technology for microbial control of this thing, so we will give them $2 million as award. So that award money is lying with the government, and that challenge is still there before whole of the world, but nobody has been able to come. But I think in the days to come, something will definitely come up. So with these words, I'm thankful to you. And would also request all of you that rather than discussing the problem, we should now come up with the solutions of the problem, because the problem almost everybody knows. Now air quality monitoring stations, a few more are coming. We have 8, and these are representatives which tell us as to how is the air quality is moving, in which direction during the period of time. So I think the things will definitely improve in the days to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And we completely agree on the solution side. And I think that's what the collective Clean Air Punjab is trying to do. And we'll definitely engage with you further on finding more solutions about it. Gunjan, this actually brings me to you that, what do you think is needed to shift this prevalent media narrative on air quality in, in Punjab's pollution? Because, how do you think that civil society can actually shift that narrative? Because whenever we talk about air pollution in Punjab, it's always about stubble burning, and we don't see anything beyond that.
Right, Sanam. First of all, thank you so much to all the organizers, EcoSick and Asar, for inviting me and including me in this very esteemed panel. I think stubble burning has sort of caught the imagination and attention of the entire air pollution debate in a way which has been very hard to break. I think I'll start by saying that, because unfortunately, it has sort of coincided with many factors which have just played up to kind of raising its significance and maintaining that profile, and in terms of just the share of media coverage and the share of debate that happens on this issue, whether it's in the political circles or the moment October sets in, you have that in the media stories or just everywhere. And I think the fact that meteorologically, stubble burning happens in April and early part of the year also, but that does not go as noticed. But coinciding with the Delhi winter, I think that of course it's problematic, and that's been one of the big reasons why when so much of the share of pollution coming from this source, which is just seasonal and accounts for, like Pannu sir was saying, 30 days of the year, it somehow takes up the entire debate on air pollution, because for those 30 days, it almost ranges from 17% to sometimes going up to 44% of share of pollution in northern Indian cities. And I think, I mean, of course, it's other than that, it's been a visual problem at scale. Air pollution as a problem has always been invisible, and it was always difficult to kind of for people to kind of imagine or see it. And a problem which you cannot see, you cannot address. But stubble burning with its large tracts of land and being put on fire and haze and smoke all over, it kind of gave this entire visual interpretation to what this problem was all about, and it's caught on to the imagination. But I think coming back to what needs to be shifted on, what is needed to kind of shift this narrative, I think definitely what I will pick up on what Pannu sir was saying was exactly that solutions. Year on year, we are seeing this for the last 5 years. We are seeing the same debate about every winter that comes on. We see this entire argument about how much crop fires have happened. The IARI data comes in. Tanushri is here, and I know CW does some excellent analysis every winter on this. There is all that debate about the health impacts related to this, where not only citizens living in Delhi NCR cities, but the farmers are the first victims of this entire problem. And but ultimately, year on year, I mean, the problem has been the solutions have not been consistent. I mean, whether we look at in situ solutions like Happy Cedar, or last year we had this entire debate about the Pusa biodegrader, all of those solutions have been sort of stopgap. They have not been the consistent policy strategy which was required to kind of address and make any kind of shift in a more perceptible and a sustained manner. Penalizing the farmers is absolutely not an option, because I mean, ultimately they are of course the victims, and what is happening is a result of a long-term policy changes and the green revolution and the groundwater policy, and all of those have played a part in kind of feeding into this entire problem which the entire northern belt is affected from. So I think all of these, and I think once the problem is being addressed with some more concrete solutions, I think that is where the narratives will also start shifting, because right now, every year it becomes a political blame game between states. The Delhi chief minister will obviously find it easy to invoke stubble burning as one of the major causes of the city's pollution problem. And it just turns out to be just another winter level drama where and apologies for putting it like that, but where it kind of ends up in the narrative debate, it kind of gets limited to that. Of course, there are nuances, and there is a lot of coverage looking beyond stubble. Also, there is consistent year-round coverage now on air pollution. Mainlines are now writing a lot about, and there's much more information about sources and going deeper into what is happening at each policy level. But I think stubble, till we actually come up with a pertinent long-term solutions and start addressing that, the narrative will remain stuck at just kind of highlighting it because of the way it's kind of just captured the imagination overall. I'll pause here.
Sanam, you're on mute.
I am so sorry, everyone. Thank you, Gunjan. That brings me to something very important. And Jaskirat is with us, who's a citizen activist. Jaskirat, if you can tell us, elaborate furthermore on how do you think that citizens concerned about the issue of air pollution can raise this, and what they can do about it, and are they actually really concerned about it?
Yeah, sure. So. Are they really concerned about it? Let me address that first. I think very few of us, I'm very happy to see that we have, people on 5 screens. I can see on my screen, at least, that, so many people are interested to listen on this subject. But what I experience otherwise is that very few people want to even, discuss subjects which need them to take time out of their so busy schedules and, work on something which is not directly affecting them only, so private interests kind of take precedence. So that is one problem. And other question about, can citizen activism help? Of course it can. We have tried a few things and we see, it makes a difference. We file RTIs, we go to NGT sometimes, we try to build some public movement sometimes, and it makes a difference, But then what we as activists feel is that the number of people who are doing it actively by understanding the issues is actually in double digits, maybe in Punjab, maybe 50 to 100 people who are actually involved in something like this. And all we need is maybe, 300 to 400 to actually make a difference. But that is still, some way to go. So hopefully with more interactions and engagements like this, we'll have more people, interested in such issues, and we'll build that critical mass required to, start making more difference. So sorry, what was the third question? I think I missed the first question, I think.
So we were saying that, what do you think that the concern is? In fact, even if the number is lower, let's say the number you said is 50 to 100, what this number, I mean, actually can do? What is that approach, do you think, that can actually get more people also, maybe for a solution-based change?
Yes. So why, the thing is that even 50 people are making a difference. So every NGT, PIL or whatever petition that we file, every RTI that we file and get information out of it, it makes some difference. But then, when the number of citizens interested in issues is less, it makes governments also, a bit complacent. They because in democracy, the government focus on what gets them votes, and if they see that not enough people are interested in going deep enough into the issue to find a solution, problem. Everybody knows the problem. Sabko pata hai hawa kharab hai. Everybody knows the air is not good. But if there are not enough number of people trying to push and come with a solution and demand a solution, at least coming up with a solution, of course, is a job of a scientist or an expert. But if there is enough demand, and if governments feel there is enough demand, there will be more budget allocations, there will be more bureaucratic bandwidth given to such issues. So that definitely is required, and with the number of people that we are trying to fight it out, I think it is making a difference. It is helping to, maybe slow down the catastrophe that we are heading towards. At least we hope so, and at least we believe so. But so a mixed bag there. So some hope and some of course, even we have some grievances that not enough people, come for finding the solutions and showing solidarity when the push comes to shove. Yeah.
Thank you, Kirit. Which actually brings us to we have just one more minute, but because I'm glad that all of us, Panu sir, you and others, all of us have actually focused a lot on the science which is needed to actually bring that change. That brings me back to Dr. Prabjot. Ma'am, what do you think? Because by the end of it, everything is just melting down to science that is required to bring that change. Ma'am, where do you see that? How do where are we right now, and how do we actually bring that change?
When you talk about the change, only thing is that as Panu Sahab also pointed out, that we need to focus on the problem. You see, the climatic conditions or the location of geographical location of the state, it cannot be changed. The climatic variations, they can also be not changed, because post monsoon season, after the withdrawal of monsoon during September month, there is sudden lowering of the temperature, and because the wind speed also reduces, so we come across a stable type of environment. And during that time period, if this pollution load or the pollutant load in the atmosphere, it increases, it causes a lot of problem. Not only this, one another problem that comes across is that all these pollutant particles in the atmosphere, they act as greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are, as we all know, that is carbon dioxide, monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and these pollutant particles also. So they act as a greenhouse gas, meaning that they don't allow the long wave radiation during the night time to escape out in the space. And as we have analyzed for Punjab, that it's not the maximum temperature, daytime temperature, which is increasing much or appreciably or changing much, but it is the minimum temperature, nighttime temperature, which has increased. And we have the instrumental record data, which says that in Punjab, nearly something like 1 degree Celsius over the past 50 years, that has increased. Now, that much increase in temperature is not something which is good. It's not only the air we are breathing in, associated to that, the changes in the climate that are coming across. So, yes, we need to focus that how the industry and other sectors, they need to participate and reduce this pollution level, because pollution level is not only choking our, you can say, lungs, but otherwise also the climate is changing, and we are facing across many climatic extremities also. Many sort of problems are coming because of all this, and all these are interlinked. You cannot treat anything in isolation. That is all I want to add at this point.
Thank you so much, and all the panelists. I think this has been a fabulous discussion. And all the information that you've shared, your inputs are very valuable. And because now the Clean Air Punjab Collective is formed, we'll keep coming back to you with opinions, for your suggestions and recommendations on the work that we carry out. With that, I pass on this to Gurpreet, and we'll get into the Q&A. Thank you very much. Gurpreet, over to you.
Hello everyone, am I audible?
Gurpreet, can you be a little louder?
Anji.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. This was a wonderful session. So I have a few questions for the panelists from the audience. So first, I'd like to address the question to Raj Ratana ji. So as per the rising AQI in different cities across Punjab, to see Galgi Pikke ke aisi monitors lagane hain. So are the cities equipped to plan a specific action plan just to help reduce the emission levels?
Yeah, ma'am. We are already working on it. We had action plan for the control of air pollution in Punjab for all the 9 non-attainment cities. We are also assigning the studies to the reputed IITs to check the source apportionment studies of these cities. And we definitely will do it.
Okay, ठीक है जी. Looking forward कि जे जल्दी तो जल्दी हो सके. So deadline भी यदि कुछ define है कि कितनी देर तक असें करना है next, because जैसे mention किया ना कि इन्हें install होंगे. So is there any deadline?
different activities है मैम. पहला सिर्फ असीं concentrate कर रहे सी पंजाब Pollution Control Board ही एक एजेंसी सी. Now all the departments, stakeholder departments have been involved, like for control of pollution from municipal dumps, local bodies responsible, and likewise for the infrastructure work like dust from roads, etc. PWD is involved. Housing department is involved for the control of pollution from construction activities. And all these departments are being involved in the action plan, and every activity has a different time target dates. And we are working on it. It is a continuous process, and we will try and to control the pollution, this problem. Likewise, in case of industrial pollution, we want to switch over the coal-based furnaces to CNG. Different city has different target dates.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So next question is that this is for Gunjan ma'am. Ma'am, how do we shift the narrative in Punjab where the state itself recognizes the issue for itself? So this is by the audience.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. I think I think one of the big problems is that, and this I've perceived also when I organize such sessions, is that pollution is not considered a problem for Punjab by the locals and farmers themselves. Pollution is considered a problem of Delhi, and the fact that Delhi is already polluted from sources all the year round, and 30 days of stubble burning makes sort of starts victimizing the farmers. And I think that is the big problem in terms of perception, because unless we kind of provide solutions and we are trying to shift that perception will not change and that narrative will not change. Right now, what I was talking about also earlier, that solutions so far have been stopgap, they have not really been sustained, and the problem is that they're not need based. Because the problem is not considered theirs, the solution is also being forced upon the farmers. And till the two are kind of synchronized to kind of understand the problem that the farmers are facing and make the solutions which are need based and not just being forced upon them, whether it's happy seeders or whether it's the biodegradable methods, or whether it's penalizing or just urging them to not burn and shift to organic methods, etc. All of those will not lead to a large scale shift and also a shift in narrative and perception unless there is a favorable kind of an economic system and a method which is institutionalized to kind of collect the waste and process it for waste which is much more which is suited for the long term and fits that strategy. I think unless that is done, that narrative will not shift, and that perception within the state will also always remain, because otherwise Delhi of course remains polluted throughout the year. Even in summer right now, pollution levels are almost double of CPCB levels, and which is almost five times that of WHO levels. So I mean, it is not wrong for them to believe that it is a problem for Delhi and it's being forced upon them. So I think it all boils down to how we are tackling that problem, and which needs to be kind of addressed soon and more structured than just ad hoc policy which comes up every winter.
Okay. Thank you for your suggestions and the knowledge. Ma'am, Prabjot ma'am, there's a kid around 13 years who wants to ask, is there a link between poor air quality and worse health outcomes from COVID-19? And at same time, is air pollution mainly a local problem or it can travel long distances?
I can answer a part of that question. That is, the air pollution will trigger a lot of problems. Like as I've already mentioned too, that because of this air pollution, the climate change is also taking place in the state. So
Yes.
then the climate change related issues will start coming up. So related to COVID, I cannot answer that because I'm not an expert in that field. But yes, because of air pollution, as I said, all these pollutant particles, they act as greenhouse gases, and the greenhouse gases cause a lot of absorption of the long wave radiation, which raises the temperatures. That is why we talk about global warming. And when you talk of global warming, it is generally the nighttime temperatures or the minimum temperatures that are increasing more than the daytime temperatures. That's a global figure also. So these pollution problems are certainly related to climatic changes there. And in my chat, I have attached one folder we have prepared for Punjab, the climate change scenario. So you can just share it with whoever is interested in that. Thank you.
Another question, ma'am, he wants to know, is air pollution mainly a local problem or can it travel long distances?
The pollutant, you see, whenever the pollutants, they have to travel in any direction, they require the wind speed and wind direction is very relevant. When particularly during the post-monsoon season, when the smog formation occurs, so there are lots of talks that the pollutants from this part of the state, they are traveling to the other states or the neighboring states. The thing is that we are not choking anyone else's lungs, we are choking our own lungs. Because during that time, the stable atmosphere conditions are there, the horizontal movement of the pollutants or the particles, it does not take place appreciably. So, and we have always seen that whenever a smog formation takes place during say 4, 5, 6 or 7 days, then whenever there is a spurt of rainfall, you have one generally during this time of the year, we have rainfall by the event which is known as western disturbance. That's a low pressure system. So that low pressure system moves over from Pakistan, Afghanistan area over the North India, over Punjab particularly, and then that causes rainfall. And suddenly, the very next day, we see that the smog particles they settle down, and the problem of that pollution which we were facing one day before, that has stopped. So traveling of pollutants to long distance will only happen when the air is blowing. That is, the wind speed is more than 4 or 5 kilometers. That's the minimum, 4 to 5 kilometers per hour. But during that time, generally the wind speed does not exceed these limits. So particularly during that time of the year, it is not very much feasible.
Thank you, ma'am. My next question is for Kansing Panuji. Sir, on reducing the industrial emissions, there have been several delays by coal power plants in installing FDGs. What's the role of PPCB in ensuring no more delays or deadlines are no more deadlines are there for this?
Can you repeat the question, because you are not very clearly audible?
Okay. On reducing the industrial emissions, there have been several delays by coal power plants in installing FDGs. So we just want to know what's the role of PPCB in ensuring no more deadlines, no more delays.
You see, this issue of thermal plants has been engaging the attention of Government of India at a very high level. Even NGT has been taking a lot of interest in improving the air quality or improving the emission level of the thermal plants. But then there are certain issues, especially the cost and other things which are involved in this. But over a period of time, definitely it will definitely improve. I think next 1 year or 2 years, the pollution level from the thermal plants will definitely improve to a large extent, because the policy decision is being taken at the national level, not at the state level.
Okay, sir. Mr. Ratraji, do you want to add anything on this? Your mic's mute.
Yeah, ma'am, we have a dedicated cell here at headquarters, and we are pursuing with all these thermal plants for early implementation of the guidelines of the Government of India. And Government of Punjab is very serious regarding the implementation of these recommendations of the MOEF notification.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question I have from the audience is for Tanushri. Tanushri, how can AQI data be used best for public health and self-care?
Good Lord, I've still not figured out how to unmute myself. No, thank you so much for the question. So first and foremost, I think I've also shared a couple of articles in the chat box, is understanding the air quality data. There is still very limited understanding of air quality data, and therefore there is a need to democratize air quality data. By democratizing air quality data, I mean, one is of course being more transparent with it, and number two is making it a little more accessible for people. So if you look at the Central Pollution Control Board data access portal right now, it's not particularly easy for people who are not very well versed with data access to actually download and see the data. But then, of course, there is the Central Pollution Control Board SAMEER app, which gives you AQI. So you can actually download the app on your phones and constantly take a look at what is the air quality in your city. Of course, given that not all cities, as I mentioned, have a very dense air quality monitoring network, you might not know what is the air quality like in your neighborhood, but you can definitely get a sense of what is the air quality in your city. And then India has something called the National Air Quality Index. So basically, based on the concentration of the different pollutants, it determines the air quality index, which is a figure which is used to communicate the severity of air pollution. So if your air quality index is in the higher range, of course, you know that the outside is not particularly good for you to venture out. So to answer your question on what is it that people can do, first and foremost, download the app, try and internalize the air quality index numbers that you're seeing, and what does this mean for you. So then if you say it's between 100 and 200, if you look at the air quality index, it says that now the air quality is not good for people with pre-existing conditions. So if we are going out for a morning walks, if you're going out for an evening walks, before that, I would advise, please do check the AQI. If the air quality is particularly bad, let's say during winters, you know, you see 300, 350, 400 as the AQI, it's best not to step out. Try and cut down your time outside as much as you can. Masks. I think all of us have gotten used to wearing masks thanks to COVID. This is one behavior which I think we should again internalize also with respect to air pollution. So there are N95, N99 masks which you can actually wear to protect yourself, especially let's say in the morning hours. We are, you know, going to our office. So there is the office commute. And if you're particularly in an auto or in your car and you want to roll down your window, I would suggest that wear a mask. So I would say there are three things which people can typically do. One is, of course, you know, get into the habit of accessing these apps to know what is the kind of air quality you're breathing. Number two is trying and avoiding outdoors on days when the air quality is particularly bad. And number three is internalizing this mask behavior, because I think that is going to be one of, you know, our personal protective measures against the air quality. And of course, I mean, our panelists have talked about, you know, the lifestyle changes that we can make at our end. That, of course, to some extent can impact the kind of air quality that we are breathing. But of course, I mean, solving air pollution, and I've mentioned this, you know, at multiple places, and it's actually from a book by Dan Spears, where it says that, you know, morality cannot solve for air pollution. Air pollution calls for systemic transitions. So a combination of both lifestyle changes and systemic transitions is what needed. But in terms of what people can do, of course, you know, internalize, try and adapt your activities in response to the air quality. So yeah, pretty much just those three things.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanushree. So we still have time. Okay, we are running out of time. The last question. Rutra sir, I just want to know, since we know the health impacts us and our children due to air pollution, so are there any health advisories there in Pollution Control Board, what they are doing to protect the citizens?
No, ma'am, it's not comes under our domain. It's, I think, a part of health department.
Okay,
and,
okay.
We don't issue such advisories. It is not appropriate on our part to issue such advisories.
Okay. So do you think crop residue burning, मतलब ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਇਹਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ?
Yeah, मैम, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, ਪਨੂ ਸਰ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਿੰਡਾਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ 1-to-1 ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪੰਚਾਇਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਨੋਡਲ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਹਾਂ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ, ਸਰ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਚ ਵੀ ਸੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਬਟ ਇਹ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੈਮ ਸੋਚ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਮਬਡੀ ਸਮੋਕ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹੀਏ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨਾ, ਮਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਮਨੇ ਫੋਰਸਡ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਹੈ, ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਣ ਲਈ ਸਰ ਦੀ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਸੈਂਟਿਵ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਉਹ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਜਿਵੇਂ CNG ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ ਸਰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਲੱਗੇ ਹਾਂ 2013 ਤੋਂ ਲੱਗੇ ਹਾਂ। ਨਾਓ ਇੱਕ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕਸ ਵਰਕਆਊਟ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ CNG ਦਾ ਰੇਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਓਵਰਆਲ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵਰਕਆਊਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਇਕੁਅਲੈਂਟ ਪੋਲ ਦੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਸ਼ਿਫਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ, CNG ਨੂੰ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕਰਨਾ, ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੈਪੀਟਲ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜਲਦੀ ਲਗਾਉਂਦਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਜਲਦੀ CNG ਨੂੰ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ 50% ਕਾਸਟ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ CNG ਵਹੀਕਲ ਦੀ, ਜਾਂ 60-70% ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਐਜ਼ ਕੰਪੇਅਰ ਟੂ ਪੈਟਰੋਲ ਔਰ ਡੀਜ਼ਲ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇਨਸੈਂਟਿਵ ਜਾਂ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕਸ ਦਿਖੇਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਫਾਰਮਰਸ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਉਹ ਇਨਸੈਂਟਿਵਾਈਜ਼ਡ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਜਾਂ ਡਾਈਵਰਸੀ, ਜੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਨਸੈਂਟਿਵਾਈਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਡਾਈਵਰਸੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਕ੍ਰੋਪਸ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਰ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ 'ਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਜੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਸੈਂਟਿਵਸ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਡਾਈਵਰਸੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ, ਜਾਂ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟ੍ਰਕਚਰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਫਰੂਟਸ ਨੂੰ, ਫਲਾਵਰ ਕਲਚਰ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਚੇਂਜ ਆਏਗੀ ਮੈਮ। ਜੇ 5-10% ਹਰ ਸਾਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਚੇਂਜ, ਘਟਦਾ ਏਰੀਆ ਸਾਡਾ ਪੈਡੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤਾਂ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਦੇयर ਵਿਲ ਬੀ ਅ ਚੇਂਜ।
Yes,
Gurpreet,
definitely.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I know I'm just eating time, but this is for actually everybody and for my understanding, but specifically to Rajratra ji. Sir, but do you guys, PPCB does regularly inform the health authorities? For example, if the AQI, like the air quality situation worsens in cities?
There is a provision under the law ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਕੋਈ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨੋਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਰਸਟ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨੋਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬਟ ਆਲ ਆਰ ਅਵੇਅਰ ਐਂਡ ਹੈਲਥ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਇਜ਼ ਅ ਪਾਰਟ। ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵਨ ਆਫ ਦੀ ਪੈਨਲਿਸਟ ਸੈਡ ਕਿ AQI ਹੈ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਓਪਨ ਹੈ, ਨੈਟ ਤੇ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸੀਬਲ ਅਥਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈਲਥ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ, ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਅਰਾਈਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸਟਿਲ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੁਜੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੰਸੀਡਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਸਕੀ PPCB ਦੇ ਪਾਰਟ ਤੇ, ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਸਰਟਨਲੀ ਡੂ ਇਟ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸਰ।
My last question है जो generally chat with सब पूछ रहे हैं, and Jaskirat sir, if you can help on this. They say कि as general public or citizens, how can we perform or how can we add our role कि ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ कुछ help कर सकिए? What do we need to learn?
या श्योर, बिल्कुल सानू पहले तो जी टाइम कढ़ना पेगा थोड़ा जा, मतलब पहली चीज। दूसरा, थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ना पेगा, थोड़ी हल्की फुल्की रीडिंग करनी चाहिए, थोड़ा जा एंगेज करना चाहिए। आज बहुत अच्छा इवेंट है, इस तरह सानू जेडे लोग ऑलरेडी इत्ते काम कर रहे हैं उन्हां नाल थोड़ा थोड़ा मिलते जुलते कोई गलबात करनी चाहिए है। वी शुड नो कि इशूज है की हैं, बहुत लोगों को पता ही नहीं होता कि इशूज की हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं चैट विंडो दे विच लिखिया कि पंजाब दे विच सिर्फ 3.5% फॉरेस्ट है। ये राजस्थान तो भी 30% नीचे है। राजस्थान इज सेकंड लोएस्ट, पंजाब एंड हरियाणा आर एट 3.5%। तो कोई 6% की फिगर के तो आ जाती है। आई थिंक ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ प्लांटेशंस वगैरह भी इंक्लूडेड ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ। सो ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਫੋਰੈਸਟ ਹੈ, that directly affects the air quality। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹਵਾਵਾਂ ਉੜ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੋਕ ਸਕਦੇ। we are heading towards becoming a desert in another few decades। ਇਹ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। we should know all these things। ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਮਤਲਬ EcoSec is doing so much work on creating new forests। People should get involved with organizations like EcoSec, for example। There is another organization called Narwa Punjab Manch, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੇੜਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਜੰਗਲਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। They need a lot of help, so people can go and talk to them। ਮਤਲਬ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ engagement ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਏ ਤੇ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਚੱਲਣ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਹੈਗਾ ਜੀ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ। There is so much to do। If people start showing interest, I think that there is no limit to what we can do। There is so much to do।
आज ਦੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ I feel ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੱਚੇ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਡ ਸੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਭ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਸੀ। they all want a solution to this। so I think ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੰਟੀਨਿਊ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ। so now I would like to pass this to Supreet ma'am। ma'am।
Yes, Gurpreet।
Yeah,
thank you for giving it to me। So मैं यही कहना चाहूँगी कि आज जिन्ने भी participants सी, we were close to 100, and that in itself is a sign that so many of us are concerned about it and want to know what steps we can take। And we are very thankful to all our panelists for sharing their knowledge with us, sharing the such simple steps as Tanushree has just shared with all of us। And I feel that awareness is the key to action. Like Jaskirat Virji is tackling questions like what we can do. So if we are asking what we can do, definitely we will do, and we will think that what steps at individual level we should be taking in order to come out of this situation. So we have very good insights today, like we have come to know about Apna City program, National Clean Air program. We have come to know that there are huge gaps. As far as the data is concerned, it is not available in Punjab, which needs to be done with, so that we are able to have the data first of all. And then we have had beautiful insights from Pannu sir that there is hope, there is a positive, there is a silver lining, that we are shifting from coal to gas to zigzag technology. And we are also talking about CNG operated plants, which are the future, the bioenergy, we are talking about that. So इस सारी डिस्कशन तो कुछ मैनू कई बार इस तरह लगता है कि साडियां जरूरतां ने ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੇ ਬਣਾ ਲੀਆਂ, we made the things because we needed the things, so we made the things, we used them also, like we are using the resources, we are using our mother earth, right? But in the end ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਿਸਪੋਜ਼ ਆਫ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰਨਾ। ਸੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੰਨੀ ਹਿਊਜ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ that we need to discuss it, and we need to plan, and we need to intellectually decide and discuss ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੇ solutions ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੱਢਣਗੇ। So I feel ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ awareness ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ create ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, definitely it will go a long way to the audience to make their brains tickle and come up with the practical solutions. And also I feel when we were working with EcoSec before the COVID days, like before Diwali or anything like this, ਜਦੋਂ air pollution ਦੇ levels ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ schools ਵਿੱਚ, colleges ਵਿੱਚ, organizations ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ regarding making them aware of the levels that the crackers make, the AQI ਕਿੰਨਾ ਉਹ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਬੜਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਆਪ ਉਹ ਘਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, and they were happy to connect with EcoSec and become aware and take these steps and give us feedback that yes, we have taken these steps on this Diwali, we have celebrated a green Diwali, and we have celebrated our festivals in a greener way. So I think awareness जो ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ create ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਉਹ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। And we are thankful that ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ clean air collective ਹੈ, it's working together with government, with such intellectuals who are working at the ground level and who can offer us the practical solutions to the problem of air pollution. So again, on a happy note and a note of hope, I will like to say, एक ही शम्मा अंधेरे में जलाए रखिए, सुबह होने को है माहौल बनाए रखिए. So we all need to work tirelessly and collect and make more people aware, inspire them to come together and make an effort in order to fight this air pollution. And on this note of hope, I thank again all our panelists. I thank Asir Foundation also. I thank Gurpreet also for hosting this event and spreading the word on air pollution. And definitely we are going to meet more often and discuss the issues that whatever come our way. Thank you everyone for joining in today's panel discussion. Thank you.
Natasha, we can end this.